Well, we find ourselves on section 2 of the MABDR. I had a quick stop at the Marion gas station. About a half a tank is what I ended up using. Getting about 53 miles of the gallon, I guess is what it says. Headed to Mountain Lake Lodge currently. If you don't know the Mountain Lake Lodge is where they filmed, wow, I can't even think about it, Dirty Dancing. I guess the famous tagline is nobody puts baby in the corner. Plenty of corners here to be dancing in. Running a little behind schedule today. A little worried that I'll end up rolling into Covington in the evening, meaning dark 30. Hopefully that won't happen, but we'll see what happens. Tomorrow morning, a whole lot earlier start. Won't have to unload the bike from the truck. Won't have long waits for breakfast, that kind of thing. I'll be on the move quick. Got 2 sections tomorrow. Both of those sections are going to be long, actually. I think they're the 2 longest sections. All total 380 something miles or 360 something miles, if I recall. So I'm looking forward to getting an early start, running long. Love these little corners, man. Reminds me of Arkansas. It's really glad to know that Virginia has some just epic twisty roads. A little gravel there in the middle of that corner. I'm gonna have to come back to Virginia and do it again. I'm already planning, and I haven't even finished this. I'm on section 2 officially, right? But I'm already planning, trying to figure out in my head how I would do the Northeast BDR and then do the MABDR, and I'm thinking north to south. Or my other thought was, as far as the BDR, the MABDR, north to south, and then from the Lawrenceville area, or wherever I'm gonna pick a central location, I would do the Northeast BDR south to north, hightail it back on the highway to the starting point, and then run north to south on the MABDR, and then haul my haul-tail on the highway back to get my truck. I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't have it figured out yet. I'm sure somebody out there has probably done both of them. I know it'd probably be a 2-week type of thing. I'd have to take 10 days. If I can actually successfully do the MABDR in 4 days, and the PA Wilds in a day, day and a half, which is kind of the goal. Ooh, that's a nice corner. Then I plan on, I'll use that as a base to be able to figure out how much time I would need. But I'm thinking right now, if I actually took a 2-week holiday, 2 5-day weeks, that would get me Northeast and MA. Regardless, I already know I want to come back to Virginia and ride. I'm loving the off-road sections, but I mean, let's be honest. Look at these roads. I'm just on a wheezy Touareg 660 with knobbies front and rear, with full Moscow Moto gear on the back, you know, so I'm not like I can hammer this. But I could only imagine if I was on one of my street bikes. Hell, the GS. The Goldwing would be fun, really. I'd have to go a lot slower. But I have a 2022 Goldwing Tour, the bagger version, if you will, and that's a pretty nimble little bike. I can't say little, pretty big, nimble bike for what it is. and I can ride it pretty good. I've probably had 2 or 3 of the, well, I've had 2 of the new gen Gold Wings, and I've had 2 of the older 2006, 2008. I count those as all modern. I never had the 1500, but I had a couple of 1200s, and I can't really call those a modern motorcycle compared to the 1800, GL 1800, either version. Although the 1500, man, that's a spaceship looking machine, and I've seen so many people long distance those across the country. When I've been on other bikes, I pulled into rest areas and I've seen these people my age now, but back in the day, probably, you know, 15, 20 years ago, those guys rocking those things, man, they were something else. I just could never get into them. They sagged a lot in the rear, and it's something I just couldn't. I was worried. Kind of reminds me of some of the ultras I see with some of the modern Americans that are on there. I think you know what I'm talking about. Between the 2 of them, they weigh over 500, 600 pounds, and the back of that ultra is just sagging. I totally got sidetracked with this view. I had to stop and take a picture. I whipped the UE so fast, it's not even funny. It's amazing. Neat little setup. There's Turag. Amazing. So yeah, where was I? Totally distracted by the views, apparently. Was talking about Gold Wings. Ragging on the 1500s, but also praising them. Who cares about my opinion, really? The Gold Wing's been a great bike from the get-go. Very few have had problems, and they are just the definition of long-distance comfort touring. This road's gotten a little bit nasty. A lot of debris on the road. I've actually felt the front end move around for the first time in a while. This road takes us up to, like I said, Mountain Lake Lodge. This is where they film Dirty Dancing, at least part of Dirtying, if not all of it. And we'll do a quick stroll through there and keep going as I'm behind schedule, but I've got to take every opportunity I can to enjoy my time on the Mid-Atlantic back road discovery route. Well, that didn't take long. Mountain Lake Lodge. Gorgeous. Little bunnies hanging out, people taking pictures of them. Haha, they got it decorated like a Christmas tree. You can't beat that. So much stuff here. Bar, pool area. Let's go see where Patrick Swayze stayed. If I'm not mistaken, it was up here on the right. Let's take a look. It goes right through here. Look at that. Yeah. I'm such a cheesy geek. Very cool. Take a look at it again. Love those wood. Cedar, blue spruce, weeping blue spruce. What do you call them? Really neat. A little bit of Americana history. Can't beat that. Again, beautiful colors. A couple more of those lodges. Just like that, we go from Mountain Lake Lodge, nice blue ribbon, paved smooth, to packed dirt and gravel, which kind of signifies most of this first section has been about the same stuff, with a few rocky, shelly places kind of put in between. A few little embedded rock places here too, not bad though. It was getting later in the day, cloud cover came back, it's getting colder. When I stopped for gas, the bike was reading 60, but I think it's just because the heat off the engine was warming up the temp sensor. It's back down to 46 and dropping. This is about as cold as I want it, to be honest with you. This right here is great riding weather. You're not sweating, you're not freezing. As long as you can keep the wind at bay, which you can, and got some heated grips or a good pair of gloves, and it's just pleasant. Wind's a little blustery from time to time. Up on the ridges. Down here, or in between, I don't see too much wind blowing now. Look at all these ferns that turned orange. I was watching a video on this not too long ago, and these ferns were just green as could be. And the YouTuber was commenting like he'd never seen as many ferns as he sees here growing. You know, the last time I saw something like that was in California. Went out there for Christmas. We were in Northern California, Calistoga. Took the motorcycle and did some motorcycle running. And ran into the big redwood forest there. And there were ferns everywhere. And they were just spectacularly green, as were just about everything else. It was wet, a lot like this, but the ferns and everything else wasn't as cold, so it was green, it was nice. I know these are public access ways or public roads, but I've seen quite a few cars. I've been pretty surprised. When I say cars, I mean cars. There's a few trucks here pulling trailers with four-wheelers and things, but you know, you're running along on your adventure bike or your dual sport and slipping, sliding in the gravel and the grease, and you come around a corner and there's a Subaru sitting in the middle. That still cracks me up. And I say it that way because in Arkansas, same thing. You can be on some of the gnarliest back roads in Arkansas, come around a corner and there's some guy in a Subaru or a SUV or a Mini tucked away back there, got his tent out, living his life. Kind of wild. We'll keep doing this. I'll catch you back when a little bit changes. Well, this has gotten all kinds of pretty. Colors are just vibrant. And we'll say I just came over the top of a mountain range. I'm on my descent. The Appalachia Trail crossed over at one point. Look at this big old tree drop. Woo! Like I was saying, the Appalachia Trail had a crossover on this road, and there was a van set up, and on that van was a gazillion stickers. And what it ended up being is kind of an aid station. A couple of guys manning the station, cocoa, coffee, helping hikers walking the trail. That is just pretty cool. I think that's an amazing way to get back. Look at these colors. My goodness gracious. That being said, as you can see the road, I'm kind of cruising along doing this about this speed. Come around a pretty tight corner on the right like this, and what do I find in the middle of the road, which it takes up the whole road? A little Toyota Camry come bombing up the hill, a couple teenagers in it. Way to stay humble, Micah, way to stay humble. Oh, what do we got? Looks like I'll take a right. Think you're out here playing Mr. Moto Guy, off-roading on your off-road adventure bike. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Toyota Camrys, cruising right along, doing everything you're doing. You know, funny story. I know I'm beating this thing to death. I'm beating this horse to death. But funny story, here it is. Was with a group of 6 or 7 riders. We were in New Mexico. We're climbing mountain passes. All of us on our burly adventure bikes, doing our craziness. Switchbacks back and forth, loose gravel, shell, muddy water, blah, blah, blah. We're bropping and blapping and drifting our rear ends around. Come up around the corner, see this amazing vista, and what is sitting at the vista with its rear hatch open, looking out over the view? You guessed it, a Subaru. My wife owns one. I can't complain, they're pretty damn awesome. Back roads, they never disappoint so far. I think I'm bouncing in between Virginia and West Virginia. Keep getting pop-up notices on my GPS for helmet laws. I'll also say the locals can trundle along pretty damn good. They know these roads and they're not afraid to drive them. Rail Trail. See what Potts Rail Trail has to offer. I definitely picked the right time of year, even if it was a little wet. Southern Comfort. Nice. Wow, check that out. Mountain View Farm. Got a rock formation kind of hanging off the edge over there. It's pretty cool. I do love the geology of all of this. I'm no itchy boots. Norley, you deserve every bit of praise you get. I watch you constantly. It's fantastic. But I see why you like it. The geology is fascinating. How do you ride like this? All right, so you probably just saw me come rolling up around a corner on a group of motorcycle riders on the side of the road. They're stranded. Well, actually, one of them stranded. Most of them all are fine, but there's a gentleman on a Tenere 700 that his 21-inch front rim ate a tube. They tried to patch the tube, and they patched it once, patched it twice. I guess they pinched it, and then it looked like the tube actually slipped on the rim, and it cut it in half. I'll show you a picture of it so you can see what it looks like. It cut it good. I couldn't believe it. So they've got a plan right now. There's a guy that's around them, that's close to them. It's got a house just up the hill. They're gonna go see if they can get on his Wi-Fi and get Facebook Messenger operating so they can get, there's a gentleman that responded on Facebook to help them, and they're gonna try to get him to get to them. They're gonna spend the night at that guy's house. I guess they're gonna be camping out, and then in the morning they're gonna try to continue to move on. I've got a lot of ground to make, so I couldn't stay too long. I did take their number and told them that when I got to Covington, which is where I'm staying tonight, I would give them a call or a text or a Wi-Fi message or something, see if I could help them out if I need to. Like I said, I'm on a truck. I've got, my wife's got a truck and my truck with me, and if we need to go pick them up and get them into town someplace, I don't have a problem doing that. So we'll keep going. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit, which means that they're either going to enjoy the video or you're going to close your eyes and not like some of the missteps, because it happens. For now, sit back and enjoy a little bit of the road. Loo. Somebody roosted up through here. Whether a truck or a motorcycle. We'll look pretty big. Be a motorcycle roosting. There's two wheels, so that looks like probably a car. Go faster, but a lot of leaves. That makes sense. I don't think that's it though. That's probably a very appropriate name for this road. Or at least one coming up. Mist Haven. I can absolutely believe that there would be a lot of mist in and around here. Switchbacks coming up. My headlights are cutting in and out, kind of surprises me. So Touareg, or the Touareg, has an auto light feature where it runs a daytime running lamp until it gets dark, or at least it thinks it's dark. Then it'll kick over to a regular low beam headlight. But when it does that between night and day, like in your car, the screen flips from dark to white to dark to white. Woo! Nice. Check out that vista. Gorgeous. I can work my way around this truck. Awful nice of them. I guess I got to figure out on a couple of these if I'm going straight or am I turning. Start locking that rear wheel up. I'm not sure how well you can hear my exhaust, but about a month ago, before leaving on this ride, I decided to upgrade to an aftermarket exhaust for the Touareg. Got a Dominator HP3 and put that on. A little fiddly to get it on, but it went on fine after I got it all pieced together right. And then I took it out and did a couple 100 miles riding the back roads of Arkansas on it, and it was just absolutely too loud. It was like a race 450L exhaust just brapping everywhere. I'm a fan of deep bassy good exhaust notes, but this thing was just obnoxiously loud. At least to me it was obnoxiously loud. I think everybody in 4 counties could hear me ripping through the backwoods. I decided to purchase a baffle for it. Got a baffle from overseas. They had to send it to me. It actually came surprisingly quick, within a week. I got the baffle installed, took it back out, did a little bit of a run, a gravel ride that we have, about a 100-mile loop, and it passes through a lot of neighborhoods, kind of like this, where you see houses everywhere. And I'm kind of blowing along, and it sounded like it was a lot less loud, but I'm blowing along and decided to slow down a bit to come up on a couple of turns that I knew were tight. And as I rounded those turns, I forgot that there was a house there and there were people sitting out on the porch. And I came around the second turn and kind of got on it hard, looked over to see the people on the porch, and there was a lady sitting in a rocking chair. And as soon as I hit it and started taking off, she grabbed her ears like I'd just fired a gun off or something. And I was like, oh man, okay. I can't do this Mid-Atlantic back road discovery route through all this beautiful countryside with all these houses and neighbors and everything that I saw in all the videos and be blowing their ears out with a brat can on the back of the bike. So I decided to take it off and put the stock exhaust back on. So I got the stock exhaust put on, and I'm glad. That was a long-winded story to get to. I'm really glad I had the stock exhaust on. Especially doing this kind of stuff with these houses close by, because you can hear me now and believe me later. When you're on pipe on this thing and it's screaming, it definitely sounds like a race 450L just screaming down the track. All right. Let's see what we got coming up here. Look at these deer sitting in the middle of the road. Those over there, they're all in that field. I came around a corner flying through this backwood, trying to make up some time, don't hate, and came across what looked like a park, like a national park or something. Very well manicured lawns, a lot like what you see right here with this maybe this lodge. Maybe this is the lodge I saw in the BDR film. Huh. Just spectacular. So I came blowing through there, and I came around the corner and I saw one deer kind of walking. And I started looking. Sure enough, deer everywhere, like a whole herd, like I walked up on a herd of deer. I can see why. I've got to be in a park. Johnson Creek Road and a trailhead. But this is absolutely gorgeous all year round. Well, look at this. Tell me this isn't gorgeous. Deer. More deer. I guess I hit the magic hour. I'm running behind. It's after 5 o'clock. Everywhere I look, it seems like deer are coming out. There's the squirrel contingency. The day before I left to come here, the guy had just finished up the ride on the Mid-Atlantic coming south, north to south. And he posted up that he believed that there was a concerted effort, a coordinated effort even, between the squirrels of this part of the country to try to suicide themselves against his front wheel. He was entertained, I guess, at most. Always be alert, I guess, is the motto. Speaking of squirrels, shiny objects in the middle of the road that look like cars that are white. The locals smoking cigarettes and probably chewing the fat. Didn't even realize I was coming around the corner. I understand why they'd be on these back roads. They're absolutely beautiful. And if you're a deer hunter and you got land out here to hunt on, you are a lucky person. Because I can only imagine the selection that you're going to have based on the deer I've seen so far. That's a cool cabin. We will keep this thing moving. Another set of deer over there in the field. We'll catch you as we get closer down the road. Well, looky what I found. Tub Run Road. Trans-America Trail stickers, Moscow stickers, Adventure Riders of North Carolina. Let's see what we can find. This is absolutely spectacular. Spectacular. There's no cemetery back there. I wonder how you get back there. Oh, the gate. Got it. All right. Tub Run Road. Supposedly this is one of the more challenging roads on the trip. I'm looking forward to it. See what we can find. Okay. Join me for the majority of it. This is not the right road. I've seen a dozen people do the exact same thing that I just did. Come around the corner, hit this road, thinking it was the road. Ah! And I did the same thing. All right. State Route 311 is open for business. Let's see what I can find. Being that I'm alone, I don't want to end up like the motorcyclist that I ran into out here in the middle of nowhere at night. I am going to take it easy on Tub Run. We'll watch this spectacular road together. Tell you a little secret. I've got my heated grips on. When you stand up like this, and you kind of put a lot of your weight on holding the grips, you tend to superheat your hands because you've got such a strong grip, pulling against, pushing forward, pulling against. So if your hands ever get cold, you want to warm them up pretty quick and you got some heated grips. Stand up and exercise, pull forward, pull down, pull forward, pull back. I'm just saying that what works for me. I'm not saying that's Adventure Rider approved. This looks like it's going to be progressive. Meaning it's going to get tighter and tighter and probably gnarlier and gnarlier with the switchbacks that I'm seeing. A lot of leaves. Well, the terrain's changed. We're into some rock gardens. I don't say this all the time, but some of the best ways to get through rock gardens are not slow. Let's not for everybody. You got to let the bike move underneath you. You got to let it hit what it's going to hit. Believe it or not, I have not learned that on a dirt bike or a small bike. I learned that on a big bike, on my GS in Colorado. There was just no way around it. There's nothing you could do about the amount of rocks and ledges and big drop-offs. And every time you would ride and you would want to slow down, the bike would reverberate or bounce off of a rock and push back on you and want to knock you off balance. I found that if you just lean in a little bit on the front, weight the front just a little bit, give it some room to move, and let it find its path across those rocks at speed, at faster than walking pace for sure. The suspension will do its job, and that bike will move right across those rocks. So, take it or leave it. Everybody has their own way of doing what they do best. But for me, that worked. Like I said, the train's changed, but funny enough, this is like the mild version of Arkansas. You guys come to Arkansas and ride with me. We'll go out and hit some of these back roads. Talking about skating. I've done my fair share of skating down a hill, down a road, around a corner. The amount of big gravel that we have and rocks that are out there and just debris that's on the road. And a cabin. All right, let's do the descent. I should probably check my GPS to make sure I'm still en route, huh? I've gone through about a dozen of those low water, soupy, or low elevation, soupy water holes since I stopped filming last. Only one of them was really muddy, like the whole front end moved around pretty heavily, but it didn't throw me off balance or cause me to stop. So Tub Run Road, for me so far, the challenging part has just been the water and mud that's on it. Everything else on the road is very similar to what I've done in Arkansas. The one thing I will say, that's a big dip, is section 1 I believe was actually more challenging at this point than Tub. It had some interesting terrain. The rock shelf stuff, with it being wet and all the leaves, I don't think this road is as wet as those roads were this morning. Got to pick your line on some of this soupy stuff. One thing I will say about Tub Run Road, just looking at the map, I've got my upper GPS, sorry, that was almost a branch in the eye. I've got my upper GPS zoomed way out, and it's just long. Longer than most of the other sections, off-road sections. They tend to split them up a little bit more. This one seems to be a little bit more off-road. this rock shell right here. Like home sweet home. Actually not. I get frustrated with it in Arkansas, but you can see it's just a constant barrage of switchbacks, and every switchback either has water in the bottom, or it's muddy, or it's soupy, both meaning mud and water. So that one was probably the driest I've seen in a bit. I also haven't seen any vehicles on Tub Run since I started. Most of the other routes I would at least see one, if not two vehicles, and then wax on poetically about how I feel like I'm you know, trying to do my Billy Patty thing. And oh, that was a big dip. I was prepared for it though. Bad line, should have gone the other one. That dip was on the outside. The front end didn't bottom out. That was the good thing. I was probably going slow enough. But the whole bike bucked and weaved, and I can tell you, if I was on a bigger bike, if I was on my GS, that would have got the front end airborne at the speed I was going even then, and I would have bounced around. It's a few choice words, I'm sure. I'm trying to practice the ride right, but it seems like the right-hand side of the road on Tub Run anyway is the worst part of the road from a... It was a little slippery. It was the worst part of the road from a dips and gravity cavities and you name it. Feels like the left side of the road, at least up until now, it felt like the left side of the road was pretty tame, and the right side would bounce around a lot. Just taking my time. It's a long road. I don't want to be stuck out here. Slow is fast, right? Get back on the pegs a little. It's a dry corner, but it's a muddy corner. Huh. Got a little bit of wheel slip. Recovered nicely. That's one other thing I'll mention. I've noticed on the Touareg, I can lug it down in second gear. I can get it like sub 10 miles an hour and the bike's still churning and moving forward. It reminds me of my BMW R1250 a lot in that regard. And on both of them, if you have to drop to first gear, it's pretty abrupt and it's instant power at that point. So all right, let's try the middle. That was good. Still seeing tracks from bikes on here sometime. I think it's just dry enough that you get good traction, but it's wet enough that keeps all the dust down. Just a long slog. I'll check back in with you guys as we get closer. Or if the train varies so much, I'll check back in with you. See if we can make it around this corner. Well, it looks like I'm coming up on the end of Tub Run Road. You can see the road in front of me. It's the gravel that they talked about. Not all the time, but there are sections like right in here, right here, and others where the gravel's thick. It's thick a lot like I would see in Arkansas. So you've got things moving around a lot. It's not constant because there's a lot of erosion. But you can see right here, I'm kind of taking the inside line because there's so much gravel. They call Tub Run Road 311 Highway. There are truck warning signs for trucks entering the highway from roads that lead out into the forest. I can only assume they're doing forestry work, meaning they are probably cutting trees and harvesting and replanting. And I think they put a lot of this heavy gravel on there to try to preserve the road for sure. That's it. That's Tub Run Road. Good road. Honestly, for me this morning, I really enjoyed section 1. I thought section 1's off-road sections were fantastic. There's just so many different terrains, and Tub Run Road reminded me of riding back in the backwoods of Arkansas. The elevation, the switchbacks, the water,